Hello everyone, welcome back to Newcastle Fans TV. Scoring the Players Time with Karl and Matt. Make sure you press that like button. We're trying to get, there's 100 likes, is that what we're trying to get today, Karl, for Scoring the Players?
Yes, mate, yeah. Big old 100.
Exactly, so try and get us to 100. That's like going to cheer us up on a 2-1 defeat against Crystal Palace on a gloomy Tuesday night in the northeast. Matt, start things off with Karl Darlow. Did absolutely nothing but pick the ball out of his net twice.
Yeah, it was unlucky for him because I think he had the first goal covered and Kieran Clark just deflected the ball away from him. And like you say, he had literally nothing to do. Maybe he could come and clear the ball for Cahill's header. I don't think he's at fault for either goal. I'd give him a 6 because for me that's a slightly positive middle of the road. Because I really can't say anything about his performance, positive or negative today. I can't see him being dropped out of the team because of any mistakes that he made, but I can't see him, being the first name on the team sheet next week because he didn't really do much today. Like you say, it didn't have anything to do except pick the ball out the back of his net.
Yeah, I feel sorry for him because literally, there was no chance on any of the goals, like a deflection from Kieran Clark and then the header from Cahill. Like, none of us would have saved it, so I'll even put that. I don't think Nebraska's saving any of them either, so
no.
Unfortunate for the keeper today. I'll continue with Jamal Lewis, who had a fantastic game against Everton. Not as good today, in my opinion. I actually think he's at fault in part for the second goal for giving away such a needless free kick in a nothing area of the football pitch. He was looking for some little nibble. Don't fall for it. Just keep him down the line. If you do your job and it goes out for a corner, for example, or a throw in, we can defend that. Instead, you've given them a free kick, give them an opportunity from a slightly better chance of the pitch to do something, to do a bit of damage, and unfortunately, it has cost us today. Going forward, it was okay, but his crosses were average at best. I'm gonna go 4.5 for him today. I'm gonna go 4.5 for Jamal Lewis. I just get that ball in earlier. It was just so many sideways passes as well. Have a bit of creativity, have a bit of balls, and do something going forward. Try and get that cross in early for the likes of Callum Wilson, who needs service. If he gets service, he'll put the goals in. Karl, Kieran Clark. Sam mentioned on the watch along, on the fan reaction show earlier, that Fabinho was really giving him a lot of bother in about just before half time, like saying, "Why are you going back towards Darlow? Go forward, be a bit more braver on the ball." Do you agree with what Sam was talking about with the Fabinho and Kieran Clark little incident, I suppose, if you want to call it?
I don't agree with Shah's mentality of it, to be honest, because I see Shah as the ball playing centre half, so I don't want both of them going forward because I feel like Shah got caught out tonight anyway. I thought he was too attacking at times, so I think it was slightly hypocritical of him. And I think Kieran Clark's performance might have suffered for that because I think, usually he's quite consistent, but I just felt like he ended up getting caught out of position because of listening to Shah, probably. So it was frustrating, mate. It was frustrating. But in terms of that, from what's happened, I think Kieran Clark felt like he was all over the shop. He did look a bit all over the shop at times. So I'm going to give him a 5.5, I would say. But yeah, it actually annoyed me that it come to light that's what Shah was saying, because I felt like a lot of that Shah put out tonight he was at fault for causing a lot of pressure on ourselves, to be honest.
I think he's got to be so much more braver.
Yeah.
Sorry, you've got to go and take that ball forward. Don't just play sideways and don't go backwards. You can go forwards. You can just hoof it long occasionally just to do something. A 2-1 down at home. Away from home maybe a little bit different, but not at home. I'm sorry.
Fair enough.
Yeah, Fabinho, Matt. Again, when you come to the second goal, I'll talk about Jamal Lewis making that fault for the free kick, but Gary Cahill is his man. You can't let Gary Cahill have a chance 6 yards out. He's going to put it away like he did. Did have a couple of shots. What did you make of them today?
It would be harsh of me to say it was one of his worst games in a Newcastle shirt, but I'm not sure what he contributed for us today. He didn't have anything to do defensively, and going forwards, he made a couple forwards passes, yes, but then the two shots, the one in the first half, I don't mind. There wasn't much on from him. He was fairly close to the box. We've seen him score from there. Fair enough, take that one on. The second one, 85th minute, Gale's open at the back post. We've got 3 men in the box, and you're taking a 40-yard shot on across the goalkeeper on you. Like, you're going to have to hit that perfectly, and it's got to go in the top corner to have any chance of saving, of going in. Sorry, and like you say, absolutely at fault for the goal. Whether or not Jamal Lewis is at fault for giving that free kick away, we should be clearing that. He's lost his man, and you can't be letting someone like Cahill go. You can disagree with me in the comments, lads. You might disagree with me now, but I'm going to give him a 2.5. I think he was probably our worst defender on the pitch today. Yeah, because I think Lewis had his moments in the first half where he did get forward. We caused a lot of trouble down that left-hand side. Clark wasn't directly at fault for either of them for me. And I think Manquillo was generally solid. He had a couple of shaky moments where he got beat on the dribble, but yeah, I'll let you guys take Manquillo. You can have a chat about the second goal.
We will. I've already seen Sam's comment about Manquillo anyway. So
yeah.
But the thing is as well, actually, Colin, I'll bring you onto this as well with Fabinho. If you can remember, just before the first goal, Palace had a cross, and there was no danger whatsoever. If there's a little bit of talking, Fabinho doesn't need to head that ball. He could let it go, and effectively it'll go out for a goal kick, because I think it was Batshuayi who was already making a run towards the centre of the goal anyway.
Yeah.
But surely there's a bit of communication. Fabinho doesn't make that header, and Newcastle can again get a goal kick.
Absolutely. I've said this before over the last few weeks, because it's different when we're at the games and we're not doing this. We'll analyse it to a certain extent, but we do it a lot more here. And I've started noticing that when he's actually looking at goal, he's not that great. If he's not got anyone talking to him, his awareness of where he is when he's looking at his own goal is pretty piss poor, to be fair. So, and I think you're right. A lot of that will come from communication, and I think we've struggled with a lot of that across all centre half partnerships when Fernandez isn't involved personally. So yeah, 100% agree, mate. It needs to be better at the back. It really does, because we look quite shaky. Whereas that's something that we prided ourselves on over the last couple of seasons.
Yeah,
I mean, I agree. I mean, in terms of defensive ability, I have this debate with my mates all the time. I think Shaw's probably 5th centre back for us, behind even Dummett, in terms of defensive ability. Just take away, the ball playing aspect of the centre half role. In terms of putting his body on the line, his positioning defensively, getting the ball out the box when it needs to be. I think he's the worst than what we've got. Clark will throw himself about to no end. Jamal, we know, will put his head on the line. Dummett is defensively solid, and then you got Fernandez, who's, in my opinion, the best centre back that we've got, and then Shaw's 5th down the pecking order in terms of defensive ability. But that's just my opinion. Yeah, so I'm sure we'll get slated for it in the comments or on Twitter or something. But that's what we're here for.
Yeah, definitely.
It doesn't matter, mate. It's your opinion. That's all that matters. Exactly. Everyone's got an opinion. Right, my opinion is on Javier Manquillo next. Now, right backs is something that I think every Newcastle fan debates about. Obviously, DeAndre Yedlin left, as you would have seen on the transfer deadline day show with myself and Sam and Lee. And obviously, Sam talks about Emil Krafth as the best right back in the back four, was on the bench today. But Javier Manquillo was brilliant against Everton. He was brilliant. Wasn't as good today, in my opinion. I think he struggled with Patrick Van Aanholt with the overlaps. I think as well, for me, going forward, he's just not good enough as an attacking fullback. Defensively, he's okay. He has his moments. But I agree with Matt. He had some shaky moments at the back today. I don't think he was as good as Jamal Lewis. I'm going to give him a 4, just slightly worse than Jamal today. I've never been his biggest fan, but he's our best right back at the club when you look at either between him and Krafth. I'm sorry, Sam. I'd probably throw Isaac Hayden in at right back. I really would, because he's better than both of them. But I know that a lot of Newcastle fans see him as an important part in the midfield, and I do agree with that at times as well. But if there's only one transfer we make in the summer, I want it to be a right back, and an attacking right back as well, because we're missing out on so much creativity. If someone can put a half decent cross in at right back, we will get more goals, because we can get the likes of Wilson on the end of chances, maybe a Carroll or a Gale if the delivery is right. But yeah, okay at best for Mr. Manquillo. Moving into the midfield, Karl, Jeff Hendrick got substituted to bring ASM on because we needed some sort of extra creativity, some sort of attacking prowess going forward. He was a sacrifice, really.
Yeah, he's had a decent chance to get a goal tonight, not taking that. But other than that, I didn't really see anywhere near the performance that he had against Everton, which was surprising because I thought he'd take a lot of confidence from that game and, you know, playing in a similar formation, be able to kick on and have another good performance. But I just didn't see it from him tonight. It kind of reverted back to going missing per se, and obviously ended up getting hooked pretty much. And as you've said, being sacrificed. So yeah, not his best game, not his worst by far, but yeah, it was just mediocre at best. So I would give him a 4 for Hendrick for myself.
I think it's a funny one with Hendrick, Matt, because like Karl says, great, and then he scored, but I don't think we needed him on the pitch.
Yeah.
No, he was. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely spot on. He was just invisible. We didn't need him. Like, if you take them out of the game, there would have been no noticeable difference going forwards or backwards, and you could have used that extra space for a player going forwards for a bit more creativity. You know, maybe a right midfielder to help cover Javi Manquillo when Van Aanholt's on the overlap. You know, instead of Jonjo Shelvey, who's got about, I don't know, a yard of pace in him for the entire 90 minutes. But you know, that's just me. I'm not a sit-at-home manager. I'll let Steve Bruce do all that. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Do you know what you think you should do, Matt? I think you should go in the stands for 10 minutes.
I think I might get a different point of view.
Brilliant. I'll let you continue, Matt, with Isaac Hayden. I think he played centre mid, right back, centre half. He was here, there, and everywhere tonight, wasn't he?
Yeah. It's typical Hayden performance. It didn't really put too many feet wrong. He did. I noticed he was quite good with his forward passes. He was the one midfielder for me that did look to pass forward when he could. There was a couple of passes that he split the two midfielders for Palace and got the ball into Wilson's feet and Almiron's feet. And he I don't know if that's from his time at Arsenal or for his time under Rafa, but he always does look to play the outlet ball from that defensive midfield position. And I thought he had quite a good game today. One of the few players that can walk off the pitch and say that, you know, they gave it their all and tried to make something happen. I think I'll give him a 6.5. I don't know if you think that's harsh, but I don't think anyone really deserved too high a rating today. I mean, there was a couple of players I'm sure we'll get onto that did graft, but yeah, certainly in the defensive midfield and the back line, he was the standout player for me.
Was he your standout player, Karl?
Yeah, I think he had something like 110 positive touches on the ball in terms of going forward, which really is like unheard of for Isaac Hayden in terms of being attacking. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, right. He's just number one on the team sheet all the time. He can play wherever he wants to, and it's very rarely that I would score him lower than a 7. To be honest, I could literally not watch a game and give him a 7 every week because that's how he plays. But yeah, I think he was the best player we had on the pitch. Yeah, overall, definitely.
Question for both of you, very quickly before we move on to the next midfielder. If Joe Willock, say, starts off pretty well in a Newcastle shirt, would you sacrifice Hayden by putting him at right back and maybe having Hendrick, Shelvey, Willock as a midfield?
No.
What would you, Matt?
From what I've seen of Willock, which is maybe 1 or 2 games, he's more of an attacking midfielder. Like he'll get the ball and run it forwards, and he likes to join the attack and support the players. So I think he's the perfect player to sit in that midfield 3 with Hayden and Shelvey. You know, you've got Hayden, who's the defensive foil. You've got Shelvey, who's got the distribution, and you've got Willock, who's willing to get on the ball and run with it and offer maybe a 1-2 with Shelvey to create some space. So I think he's good in there, and I don't think it's worth sacrificing the defensive stability that Hayden provides you in the midfield region by sticking him at right back. Even though he can do a job at right back, I think he's much better just sitting in front of the defence, breaking play up.
Karl, could Hendrick do that job that Matt alludes to about Hayden?
I think we need both of them to do that, personally, because I think we're so shaky at the back that I agree with Matt. That's 100% where I'd have Hayden playing. I really don't want to sacrifice it, but I think that we need someone else there with him as well, because I don't think Shelvey's got enough about him defensively to allow Willock to then push on. And I think with just having Hayden there on his own and having Shelvey in there, who I do rate massively, I know he's not very... his work rate isn't fantastic, but I feel like we can get exposed if we haven't got 2 defensive midfielders. Now Shah wants to push on as well, and he can get caught out of position. I think we need 2 defensive midfielders. So, you know, and the only other option we have there is Hendrick. So for me, which is horrible to say, by the way, if I'm looking at playing Joe Willock and starting him in an attacking position in that 3, can't believe I'd say this, but to make it work, I'd have to drop Jonjo Shelvey, which is fucking ridiculous.
I think it's a good point you make about Fabian Schär, because if Fabian Schär does start at centre half and a 2, you can't put Hayden in it right, but you have to put him as a centre mid, and that is his strongest position. It's a very, very good point, and I don't see a lot of comments saying no, Hayden must play as a centre mid. That is still my preferred position. It's just if it gets that bad, if injuries happen, because we've only got the 2 right backs now, and Emil Kraft doesn't fill me with much confidence, in my personal opinion.
It would be nice to have the option of maybe Hamza Chowdhury as a defensive midfielder, but these things don't happen sometimes when you don't have the right people at the top. But that's just my opinion. Feel free to disagree with me. But no, it just comes. It bugs me, because we expect a lot of the players that we have, and at the end of the day, some of them aren't talented enough. Kraft, bless him, you can't fault him for his effort. Yes, maybe he's the best fullback in a back 4. Doesn't mean he's good. The fact. Well, he might be, but the fact that we're considering maybe dropping. No, I'm not saying it. I prefer Makio personally, but if you're considering dropping Hayden into right back, then there's something wrong. When you're considering pulling your most consistent player out of his most consistent position just to provide cover in some other aspect, there's got to be investments. But that's an issue for a month ago, not now.
Exactly. It's only a couple of months until the summer. Matty Longstaff, another midfielder, that's just popped in my head. He could potentially do a job in that 2 as well. With Hendrick, is he better than Hendrick? Some would argue, yes. Some would argue.
I think he's personally,
different kind of player. I don't know. Exactly. Offers you something a little bit different, but that's Steve Bruce's job, not ours.
Exactly. Right, let's move on to Jonjo Shelvey. I feel like we've been talking about this midfield for a little while, and a little spoiler alert there. We don't know what he's going to get out of time. Look, he got the goal. Great finish. Great finish early on. I was thinking brilliant, just what we need. Really get a 1-0 lead going into the game. I think Palace, a bit hit and miss. I thought that would settle us down and settle him down as well. Obviously, when we go 2-1 down, he gets a lot of the ball. I don't think he did great with it, creativity-wise. He's looking for that Hollywood ball to an ASM or a Fraser or a Wilson, etc., etc. Yellow carded as well early in the first half for a needless challenge, which I thought was just weird, to be honest. But look, he scored the goal. It was a great finish. I find it very difficult on marking Jonjo Shelvey today, because I don't think he was brilliant apart from the goal, but the goal is what you have to look at. I'm going to go 5.5 for Jonjo Shelvey today. I think it's a really, really difficult one to score. I have to be honest, Carl. I don't know where you stand on this one, because I don't think he did much apart from the goal itself.
Yeah, I think I agree. Like, I felt like he controlled the midfield in the sense of being able to have the ball at his feet and had the opportunity to do what he wanted, but his execution wasn't great at all. So I do agree it's a difficult one to score. And I've had a look at a lot of what other people have rated players as well, and it's so sparse. You've got people rating him at an 8, and then people that are rating him at a 5.5. So it's just subjective, isn't it? But the way I've seen it today, I'd agree with your score, to be fair.
I'm glad you do, Carl. Not many people will.
No.
That'll make me sleep well tonight. Matt, let's move into the number 10 sort of role for Miguel Almiron. He looks so much more comfortable in that central position. Some could argue it's maybe an 8 at times defensively. It's maybe a box-to-box. You can do it maybe as an 8. But he's much more comfortable in the centre. I'm hoping that Steve Bruce and whoever has seen that and just say, look, we cannot put him on the right or the left. Keep him in the centre. He has a lot of the ball. He creates opportunities for other players, and he runs a lot, as we like.
As Liam likes to say.
He does. He runs a lot, but keep him in the centre, Matt. Yeah,
I mean, for me, he was the best player on the pitch. Between him, Wilson, and Hayden, I know Carl's said that Hayden was the best player on the pitch for him today, but Almiron, he's literally everywhere, and he's the one player when I'm screaming at the TV saying, someone offer a pass. It's Lewis in the left back position. He's got a bit of pressure. He needs an outlet ball. It's Almiron dropping back almost between the centre halves to come and get the ball off him, drive 10 yards forward and drop it off to someone else. He's supporting Wilson Cheers, Liam. He's supporting Wilson when Wilson needs support. You know, there was a couple of times the communication broke down, but that just comes from a lack of playing time together in that kind of role. I hope Steve Bruce has seen enough to consider a 4-2-3-1. We didn't see it today. We saw a 4-3-3 in attack and a kind of lopsided 4-3-3, and I don't know. There was no right side. We've established there was no right side, and I think Almiron would benefit from having more options, because where he falls down for me is when he's got too much time on the ball. So he'll get the ball, he'll run it in space, and then as soon as he comes up against a defender that he can't run past, he stops and he slows the game down, and that's what really bugs me. I'd wish he'd just drop the ball off to someone else, like a saint-maximin or a Fraser or even a Callum Wilson, who can just then keep the ball going and just create something else. I'd give him a 7.5 today. I think he created a fair bit going forward, created the goal for Shelvey, whipping the ball into Wilson. And the one thing that sticks out for me is, his effort. I think it was Townsend got the ball on a break, and Lewis was 30 yards up the pitch, and Almiron sprinted from the halfway line all the way to the corner flag, tackled Townsend, and then not only did he tackle him, but he won the ball and then passed it out as well. It wasn't like he cleared it for a corner or cleared it for a throw in. You know, I think the Everton game, his heat map, it was bright red everywhere on the pitch. And that's the kind of effort that he brings. That he's essential in that number 10 for me. I thought he was fantastic today. Unlucky not to perhaps get another assist or a goal.
Yeah, 7.5 for Almiron today from Matt. I like that comment from Sean Taylor. It's taken 22 games to play Almiron in his right position.
Yeah. One game for Graham Jones comes in and plays him first game, number 10. But Steve Bruce calls the shots, remember.
Exactly. He'll not be undermined at this club, I'm telling you. Karl, I've just realised that I've let Matt go in front of you, so I'll give you Ryan Fraser. Should have scored.
Yeah.
After Wilson's lovely through ball. It was a good save, but maybe go round him, try and win a penalty, maybe even get a red card, who knows. But I think he should have scored in that position. Got put at a right back just because Bruce just fancied it by the look of it, because he was trying to get as many attackers on and thought, well, I'm going to have to put somebody back in. Sometimes you kind of win in that situation, Karl, because if you take him off, people go, why are you taking him off? But I don't know, is there any point of keeping him on, Karl, if he's going to be playing right back?
Not for me, no. Because when he was going forward, I agree, he's got to be rounding the keeper there rather than try. Said he still managed to get 20 crosses into the box again today. He's got 20 against Everton and 20 again today, which is what we want from wingers. So then you've got that production from him, and then you decide to drop him in at right back, which is just, ridiculous. So I personally think it was another positive display from him. Not as good as he was against Everton, but I think he's starting to maybe get a bit of fitness back and start to click. And like I said, his production is getting better and better. So if he can keep putting 20 crosses in a game, we've got to start scoring off them. I think there was one where towards the end where he's tried to loop it over the top instead of drilling it across goal. Bad decision, but at least he's getting us into those positions now. With Matt scoring Hayden a 6.5 and me thinking he's the same, I'm going to match that and give him a 6.5. Yeah, I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Yeah, I think he had his moments today, Matt, didn't he? And the one thing I like, we've got someone that can cross from the right-hand side in the second half or the left-hand side, which he has predominantly been playing for Newcastle, and he did for Bournemouth. He was more of a left-sided midfielder. Do you think he's the best crosser at the club now? Because we have lacked that in so many years.
I think he is. I think he needs to work on it still, though, because he's very predictable. Because he's not going to go down on the outside and cross it with his left foot, because we saw that a couple of times today, and they all either ended up in the keeper's gloves or out for a goal kick or straight into the defender. He's always going to cut back on his right and look for that in swinger. I don't know how many. You said he created 20 crosses. I don't know how many were accurate today, but I would probably put a lot of money on the fact that a lot of them were on that left side, cutting back on his right foot and looking for the whip ins to kind of get a little, because Callum Wilson's never going to get up and get a bullet header. He's looking for little flicks at the front post or the back post to beat the keeper with a nice little touch. And Fraser knows that. So I think he's got a good relationship with Lewis as well. They seem to play very well together. He's used to playing with attacking fullbacks at Bournemouth. I remember Charlie Daniels being quite an attacking left back when he was at the club. So hopefully with a bit more first team time with the same kind of squad players around him, he'll improve. There was definitely a couple of times where the communication with Almiron broke down with Fraser today. They've very clearly not played together very much. And you can tell. So once that starts to click and starts to develop, we'll create a few more dangerous chances with those two giving nice little give and goes in and around the box. I think he's going to come, hopefully, fingers crossed, going to come a lot better than he has been. But today was a nice display from him.
Yeah, I think obviously that Anthony says Fraser is looking sharper. I think the more minutes he'll play, because he was a 50-50 for a day past a late fitness test, so possibly not 100%. But yeah, the more times that Ryan Fraser's on a pitch, I think Newcastle will pick up the points and will create chances for what we've seen so far. His former Bournemouth teammate, but now current Newcastle teammate, Callum Wilson, nearly scored a lovely scorpion kick in the first half, which I thought was in. I kind of jumped off the edge of my seat. He's a constant threat at the centre halves. I thought obviously in the first 20 minutes, Gary Cahill struggled with him at times. He needs service, and did he really get many chances today? That clear-cut chances against, let's be honest, not the best Crystal Palace side I've ever seen in my life. Not really. And I think that's probably the most disappointing aspect of him. He must be scratching ahead of time thinking, hold on, I got 5 or 6 good chances against Everton, and now I'm back to scraping 1 half chance today. Frustrating to say the least. Gave a couple of needless fouls. I remember one on Guayi where he didn't need to, but he was a constant threat. It's difficult on this one. I'm going to go 5.5 again. It's difficult because I look at like someone like a Shelvey I've rated 5.5 and scored a goal, but didn't do a great deal. But Callum Wilson, I think I feel sorry for more than anything, which isn't great. It's not the best way to score a player. But he's so important to us going forward, because if he doesn't score, we don't really look like scoring from other aspects. He did get the assist, I suppose, for Shelvey's goal where he chested it down. It was a lovely bit of striker's play. But look, we've got 3 tough games now. Look, Southampton have been beaten 9-0 tonight, but that's still going to be a tough game on Saturday. And then I think it's Chelsea and Manchester United, which I'm going to put it out there. We're not getting anything from them 2 games. That Southampton game for me is the biggest game of the season, and we'll mention that with the Steve Bruce factor a little bit later on. But 5.5 for Callum Wilson today. It's difficult
with Wilson because we judge him on being a striker, which obviously he is, and he puts balls in the back of the net. But if Fraser puts that chance away, we finish the game 2-2, and Wilson's got 2 assists. Yeah. You know, like it's difficult because there is such a lack of service, and there's no players around him. 5.5 is probably fair, but it's always dangerous when the ball gets around him, and I think that's what we've lacked at Newcastle for so long now. A good number 9 that there's danger, there's threat whenever he's on the ball. You don't know what's going to happen.
Imagine if we paid 40 million for a proper good forward.
Imagine.
Moving on. Substitutes. Carl, I'll let you start with ASM. I probably would have put him on. I would have put him on earlier. I would have put him on earlier. I would have gone, you know what? We know what Palace are going to do. I would have left it 5-10 minutes max, and I've gone, right, ASM, get on, especially Klein getting the yellow card. Get him on. Just see what he can do. And he had moments.
Yeah, he's he's always going to bring a different energy to the side, and he did again. He wasn't overly effective, but it's I 100% agree. He needs to start seeing more game time to get in the game. Work rate was through the roof as per usual with him. Well, I say as per usual lately, like not considering the first 10 games maybe after he'd signed the contract, but yeah, he's looking to like he's starting to get back to where he was. He's on that kind of trajectory. So yeah, he was all right tonight. I'll give him a 5, and that's only because I don't think we saw enough of him.
Matt, would you start him against Southampton?
If he's fit enough to start, I think he has to, really. And I'd play him on the other wing to Fraser, because I think the reason that he didn't really make much of an impact today is because Palace was sending 2 players over every time. And it's because we didn't have any other threats. You know, if we've got Fraser on the other wing and Almiron through the middle, there's a chance we can go through the middle or through the other side. But we didn't play. I don't know how many times I'm going to say this. We didn't play with a right-sided attacker. So they knew that every single attack was going to come down that left-hand side. So when we're passing the ball around our centre-backs, they're not worried that we're going to pass it out to the right-hand side, no matter who's there, because there was no one of a decent threat there. it was always going to go back to Lewis and saint-maximin, and that's why he didn't make an impact, because there was always 2 or 3 Palace players around him, and they resorted to just kicking him at the end of the game. There was 2 or 3 niggly little fouls that could have easily been free kicks that just weren't given. Not his fault. I think that tactically that's down to Bruce, that he didn't make much of an impact today. Not for lack of trying. Saint-Maximin thought he was good, and he has to start against Southampton. We know he scored. I think he scored the winner. I can't remember if it was the start of this season or last season. I think it was last season.
Yeah, last season. It was the last game before COVID.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It seems like many moons ago. But
Yeah.
ASM was a Scott down block away from making it 2-2 as well. So he has his moments. So we'll have to wait and see what happens on Saturday afternoon, which of course you can watch the watch along with Karl. I'd imagine it'll be on that for Saturday at 3 o'clock for the game against Southampton. So make sure you keep your eyes out for that. Remember, if you like what we're doing at the minute, please like this video. If we're trying to get to 100, if we can get 100, that'd be brilliant. It'll cheer Matt up. It'll cheer Karl up. That'd be brilliant. Quick ones for Dwight Gale and Andy Carroll. Both obviously late substitutions. Both getting non-applicable for me. Dwight Gale nearly took a throw in. Andy Carroll nearly had a header in the back of the net at one point towards the last second of the game. So, look, they both didn't have enough time. So, yeah, we'll just move on to the manager or the head coach, whatever he likes to be called in a minute. But Dwight Gale and Andy Carroll, look, they're not going to get much minutes from now at the end of the season. But if they can get the odd goal, that might keep Newcastle in the Premier League. Who knows? Right, Karl, I'm going to let you start with Steve Bruce. Team selection, I was quite happy with the team, just the one enforced change because I was seeing Lascelles' injury. I thought it was the right substitutions. I just don't think the time was brilliant on all 3 of them, if we're being honest. But it's another defeat. Karl, does it go for you like me, result then performance, or does it both come at 50-50? How do you see it for Steve Bruce tonight, Karl?
It's a tough one. Like I said just before, I don't want him to be the manager of Newcastle United anymore. I don't think he's fit to manage the club. But I'm over this. And I've been an advocate for it, so I'm swallowing my words. I don't want to be on his case all the time. Like, it's boring now. It's just boring, and I don't want to be hypocritical in the sense that Graham Jones has come in and there was a huge difference in the Everton side, but we don't really know how much of an influence he had. Like, yes, he had 48 hours in training, but can we realistically put it all down to him and then not give him stick for tonight, for example? I don't think we can fairly do that. So, and like you, I was happy with the formation. I was happy with the setup to a certain extent. The substitutions should have come earlier, but I'm not putting this completely on him. I just don't think we were good enough in certain positions. We've had a mad 5-10 minutes where we've conceded 2 goals. I put that down to the players, to be honest. So a 5 for Steve Bruce would be from me tonight. I'm not going to get on his case massively about tonight. I wasn't overly pissed off with how we performed, to be honest. I'm just disappointed we didn't get a result because I thought that we created enough opportunities to be able to at least get a point out of the game.
Matt, it's 1 win in 12, though.
Yeah.
It was a brilliant win on Saturday against Everton, but it's 1 win in 12. That's relegation form. Now, I'm looking at the table right now in front of me. Newcastle, 16th, 22 games, 22 points. You're averaging at maybe a point a game. That's 38 points. 9 times out of 10, that's going to keep you up. But there's just no confidence in Steve Bruce at all that he's... If there is, there's the smallest amount of confidence that he's just about going to keep us up, mainly because at the minute, Sheffield United and West Brom are just too far away from catching us. Mm-hmm. And Fulham just can't seem to get 2 wins together or get 1 big win. And that's the only reason why we're not in the bottom 3. But on tonight's performance, how much blame does he get?
I agree with Karl to a certain extent, saying that the downfall today was the players. The goals we conceded, that was individual errors. That you can't pin that on Bruce. But I think what we can pin on Bruce tonight, and what I will blame him for, is the lack of adaptability to get us back into the game. He set the team up against how he did against Everton, which is fair enough. We played well against Everton, so why wouldn't you? Why, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So he's done that. I was happy with that. That's fine. But then, you're 1-0 up. You're trying to push for a second. Fine. You go 1-2 goals behind, or 2-1, and then they put 11 men behind the ball. and we didn't change how we played. And we succeeded against Everton because they're an attacking team. They're going to try and push for goals. We knew Palace weren't going to do that once they got in front. And Steve Bruce didn't think, right, now's the time to get saint-maximin on at half-time. Now's the time I'm actually going to put a right-sided midfielder on, or I'm going to put another fast player to run at the defence, because these defenders have no legs left. We've seen Fraser beat them. We've seen Wilson beat them on the dribble. I'm going to stick, Dwight Gale on at half-time or 60 minutes because he's willing to run the channels, getting behind. It was the lack of adaptability. Steve Bruce, Mr. I don't like tactics, and that's what cost us the game today. The individual errors made us go behind, but then we've got like 70 minutes. I can't remember when the second goal went in, but 60 minutes to get back into that game. Even one goal, get 1 point from today's game, and that comes down to Steve Bruce. You can only expect so much of your players to perform the way they did in the style that we did. But you need to change your style of play to the teams that you're playing, and this is why earlier in the season, we picked up a win against a certain side, and then the next game we've been battered against the next side, because we think, oh, we've played well, let's keep doing that. Except the team's completely different. The way you play against Fulham and maybe win isn't the way you're going to play against Arsenal and get a draw or whatever. If we played like that against any of the bottom three today, I think we lose, because those bottom three aren't necessarily the most attacking teams in the world. They're willing to put men behind the ball and hit teams on the counter. And we weren't prepared for that today. And Steve Bruce refused to change that even during the game when he could see it happening in front of his eyes. So for me, he gets a 3. But I don't think 5 is ridiculous. I think 5 is also a fair score, because there was a certain amount of culpability for the players today.
I'm sorry, Matt, but I was going to agree with Karl. I was going to go 5. My only reason it's a 5 is I don't think we were that bad.
Yeah, the performance-wise, it was okay. In the quick thoughts, someone commented saying, best performance of the season. Why am I upset? I was like, I'm upset because we lost 2-1. Yes, we played okay.
If anybody hasn't watched that video, I've never seen Matt nearly go. He was literally, I think he would have probably grabbed that subscriber's comment and literally tried to throw him into the screen, saying, "You're joking? It finished 2." Oh well, it was great. Yeah. Go and give it a watch. But yeah, 5 out of 10. My thoughts on tonight with Steve Bruce is that, again, wasn't completely bothered about the team selection. I think the team selection was fine. The substitutes were fine, just not quick enough. We didn't need 2 extra defensive midfielders at 55, 60 minutes. Take them off earlier. Even at half time goes, you know what? We're really going to need it in the second half? Nah, I don't think so. Chris Wilder knew early on when Sheffield United played Newcastle, he already had 2 strikers on by 55. Yeah. There was an intent there. There was a plan to go, right, this is how we're going to change it. I still think Callum Wilson's getting isolated. I still think we need to try and solve that issue out, and I think that does come down to the manager. And yeah, we've got a massive game against Southampton now. I think it's the biggest game of the season because of the next 2 games we've got. There is a bit of a gap, but if we can get a result against Southampton, get a win against Southampton, that'll put the pressure off the next 2 games, because I don't see us getting anything for the next 2 games after Southampton. But disappointing because there's 2 soft goals, in my opinion. 2 soft goals. 1 deflection, 1 poor free kick given away. We haven't took care of Crystal Palace's biggest threat in the box. So frustrating, very, very frustrating. But the performance wasn't that bad. It was better. It was being better than a Brentford, than a Sheffield United. Just trying to think of other teams that we've played recently. Leeds United, Man City. Leicester.
You don't have to go on. You don't have to go on.
We don't have to go on. We don't have to go on much longer because we've got the last word very, very soon with Lee. Actually, let's see how long we've got until the last word. Just over 2.5 minutes until the last word, where you'll be talking about everything Newcastle 1, Crystal Palace 2. But make sure you get your comments in tonight with all the videos. Make sure you liked every single video that we've done tonight. And yeah, what do you think? What do you think about Steve Bruce? What would you have given him? Who do you think your man of the match was? Our man of the match is Miguel Miron tonight, after he ran a lot. But he did a little bit more than running a lot. I think we can all agree on that. But yeah, and we're back again on Saturday. Southampton, huge game. Karl will be back. I think, Matt, are you available Saturday?
I think I'm working on Saturday. I might be around. I might make a surprise appearance. You never know.
There we go. He's enjoyed it that much. He might just pop along for
coming back for more.
Yeah, make sure you like this video and subscribe to Newcastle Fans TV and Newcastle Fans TV Extra. Big thanks to Karl behind the scenes. Big thanks to Matt. And make sure you stay with Newcastle Fans TV. It's Lee with the last word, 2 minutes. Don't move, just go. Thanks very much.